Hey guys, Menace TFT here. Today we're going to go over one of the strongest comps in the game right now, Karma Fiora Flex. Kind of a hard comp to play just because it requires so much flexibility and econ, but hopefully this video will go over some of the big ideas about how to play the comp, specifically how to play the early, mid, and late game. So we're going to do a VOD review, we're going to go over some of the big concepts, so hope you learn something. So this is the board that we eventually want to get to, right? Karma, Warrior, Flex. We have a decent front line with Rakan, Nico, Nasus. We have our two DPS, Fiora and Gwen. Also Karma is a really good DPS now. And then we have our Preservers to beef up the Rakan and the rest of the team. Now the question is, unless you're super, super lucky, right? When you roll down on stage 4-2, you will most likely not hit 2-star everything unless you're just high rolling out of your ass, right? How do we get to this board? I think that is kind of the missing piece for a lot of these guides is, a lot of these guides just say, hey, play these units, have good items, and you will top 4, top 2. Let's go into a couple examples of how we can eventually get to this board by looking at the early game, looking at the mid game, and then eventually the 4-2 transition, and then how to play the rest of stage 4. All right, so now let's look at this game from YB1, rank 1 in Vietnam, super, super good player. So you see that he has most of the board, except, most of the carries are 1-star, which isn't great, but he's 2-star the Karma with pretty good items. It's pretty late into the game, it's 5-6, and he was able to eke out a top 4. I'm not sure if he'd be able to get, top 2 if he's only has 1-star units. But for the most part, he was able to get through the early and mid game and also a lot of the late game with this board. Let's rewind the clock and see how he eventually got here by looking at the early and mid game. So this is the beginning of the game for YB1. You see that he already has 2-star Zoe, 2-star Ziggs. He has Lilia pair, so he's a pretty strong early game. Let's look at our items first, right? So we were dropped Rod, Tear, Sword. Looking at these items, it's not immediately clear that you should go the Fiora Karma comp from these items, right? There isn't any melee items for Fiora. There aren't really any slams for Gwen either. And for the Karma, her best in slot is blue buff, Morello, +1. But there aren't any slams here, right? So we can see, this. I wouldn't look. I would like looking at these items. I wouldn't say that this item would immediately make me want to go Fiora Karma. This looks more like a Rise game, right? Because you could slam the Shojin, you could slam the Rod or the Archangels. But so that's the first thing. So you have to look at your items and see if you can even go the comp. He opened up the completed anvil. I think he got it from the portal. So here we have two pretty good Fiora items, DB and Edge of Night. So this gives you a little more direction into maybe you want to go into the melee Fiora line. You have Spark, which is generally good for any AP comp. So that's good for the Fiora and for the Gwen. And then Adaptive, again, pretty good for Karma and Gwen. And then Static is not bad either. So here you have a little more direction into going this comp. And that's kind of the great thing about this comp in particular is because it uses so many different types of items. It's not very item specific, basically. But again, I still wouldn't say that, looking at these items, looking at the setup, that I would immediately go Karma Fiora. But let's see what he chooses. So he slams the Shojin. He slams the Adaptive, which is really good for the Ziggs here. So it's really good for this board currently. I think the main takeaway from this part of the game is that he's playing flexibly, right? He's not locked into the Fiora Karma just yet, but he's playing strong units, playing strong items, so that he's able to create a strong board and then preserve HP to eventually get to the level 8. Now this is the mid game, stage 3 part of the game. So you see that he actually lost a couple rounds. He's at 78 HP, which is not too bad. But he, has his AP items here. He got dropped tier, cloak, glove here. So let's see what he decides to slam here. Again, I still wouldn't say that this is necessarily, this doesn't necessarily tell you to go Fiora Karma from here. But he's at least building items that complements his board currently so that he can get stronger. And because he's so weak, right, he's at 78 HP, he might decide to roll a little bit on 6 to make his board a little stronger. So let's see what he decides to do. Magnetic. Slams the Ionic on the Poppy. Oh, wow. He's staying 5 here. You know, most players will just go right to 6 from here. But I guess, let me see. Is he lose streaking? Is that why? No, he's not. So he just decides to stay on 5 just for now. Still, he's playing flexibly while still maintaining his board strength. He's trying to preserve as much gold as possible to eventually go 8 and have enough gold to level down. So that's kind of the key of this comp, because it requires so much gold to hit all those 4 costs, is preserving gold while still maintaining board strength to get you through the mid game. So here he's decided that he has enough board strength to get to stage 4. You know, he has the support golem with the Zephyr, so he can, you know, that's some skill expression there. He probably win a couple fights just with the Zephyr. And he has his carry, has his front line. He's still kind of like losing a lot of a couple rounds because of this, but it's not, he's not full sacking, right? He's not completely bleeding out stage 3. So you see here, there's a couple items he can pick. I think he makes a decision to go for the Rise because the Rise is a little better than the Ziggs that he has right now. And also the chain component is pretty flexible. So he just decides to take the Rise because, again, he's just trying to make his board a little stronger each round so that he can eventually get to stage 4. So he, you know, he replaces the Ziggs here. Moves the items onto the Rise. He slammed Vow here. So, you know, in general, challenger players, what they'll do is I think the general rule of thumb is if you have 3 components, that's too much, and you should be slamming just to, again, preserve strength, right? Vow is obviously not best in slot anyone, except for maybe Tom Kench, but he's just doing it to, again, keep up the tempo and make his board strong enough to get to stage 4. Alright, so we finally made it to stage 4. We have 59 HP, which isn't too bad. But he definitely needs to start making his board a lot stronger now that it's stage 4. He has 59 gold, which should be enough to level and have around 20-30 gold to roll down. So let's see. Let's see what he does. Silver Augment. Picks Final Ascension for more combat power because he needs to get a little stronger. Gets the 8 and he just starts rolling down, right? So he picks up all the 4 costs that he needs. He picks up the Tarek, gets the Gwen. Nice. So he rolled up to 10 gold here. Hits the Fiora here. So actually, I mean, he didn't hit the Karma, but this board is a little stronger than what he has right now. And I think what most players do from here is they will just make the board strong enough and then kind of switch out units to get a little stronger, but isn't rolling down every single round, right? Or let's see what he does. We actually went under 10, which isn't great. Oh, he hits the Briar here. Briar's a little better than Nico. So again, he still has only 1 cost, 1-star units for all of his units. And instead of the Karma, he's playing the Rise and the Bard for Scholar and Preserver. But still, he's just playing whatever he hits here just to survive stage 4 until he eventually hits his 4 cost units, which is good. So this comp really requires you to play flexibly. You see, he's already being contested by another player. Again, he's being contested again. So he's being contested 4 ways. But because this comp is so flexible, he's just kind of like, I'm already here. I'm gonna just keep trying to make my board stronger. Maybe they'll be knocked out before, and I can hit the units before they do. So yeah, he's actually rolling under 10 each turn. I think he probably feels like he can't top 5 this game, so he's just trying to make his board as strong as he can per round. Maybe he hits the pairs, because he has 4 pairs right now, so he's just rolling to 0 every turn. I think one really good thing that he's doing right now is using the Rise instead of the Karma as an item holder. Yeah, he's picking up charms every round, and yeah, he hits the Rise too. So this is stronger than the Karma one for sure, right? Nice, and he's winning these rounds. He only has 1 2 star, which is the Rise, but his board is strong enough. You know, he's also like positioning. He's trying to basically just survive stage 4 until he can start rolling down again to hit his 2 cost units. Another thing that I really like that he's doing is he's not playing the Nasus because he didn't hit the Nasus 2, and instead he's playing the Nico 2. I think Nico 2 is obviously weaker than Nasus 2, but it's stronger than Nasus 1. So he's just keeping Nico on his board because it's strong for right now. He's second in the lobby right now still. Even with his whole board is 1 stars except for the Nico, and he's still able to be strong. So he's slamming items. He's picking the right augments. He's not fixating on hitting the exact board, right? Like the Nasus 2 or the Karma earlier on. He played the Rise a little bit. But again, this one big takeaway for this is playing flexibly. So yeah, this is actually a pretty big decision. He decides that the Gwen 1, he sells the Gwen so he can make the Karma 2, which is a lot stronger. And again, yeah, he's just trying to preserve HP here. So he can 3 item the Karma. And yeah, he was able to top 4 with this. He didn't hit all his 2 costs, but he played flexibly and strong enough to be able to get to the top 4. And I think this is like a really good example of playing flexibly and identifying that you probably can't top 2 or 3 from this spot. So I'm just going to try to win as many rounds in stage 4 and 5 to preserve HP, and then eventually wait for everyone else to get knocked out. So yeah, the takeaways from this game, right? Early game, he just kind of slammed whatever he had, not necessarily fixating on the comp, but just slamming items. And he played a decent early game. His mid game was decent. He's just trying to be strong enough to preserve gold and survive stage 3, and then stage 4, getting to 8, rolling down, and then playing whatever he has. He hit the Rise 2 instead of the Karma, allowed him to preserve some HP to eventually get to the Karma 2. And then he was able to top 4 with his comp. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully you learned something. Slam items, keep up the tempo. Always be thinking about how to make your board stronger, and don't just fixate on the comp, right? He played the Rise 2. He played the Nico over the Nasus, and was just generally just playing strong boards whenever he can. Hopefully you learned something. Good luck with your guys' climb. We'll probably be making more videos soon, so definitely like and subscribe the videos if you would be so generous, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.